Hello, America, and to our friends around the world. Welcome to the Common Sense Show. We are the show that's freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. Let me call attention to something here. You see this flag right here? Okay, well, we're going to have to change this. Actually, I had a family member come out here and thought I made a mistake and they turned it right side up. No, this means America in distress. When you fly your flag upside down, we are in distress. Now, it's not that we can't do anything about it. I don't know that elections alone are going to fix this, but we do need to give that a try. There's other elements we need to be involved in as well. This is a military issue that we're talking about today across the board. This is a political issue, certainly, and it's an economic issue. And let's not leave out the spiritual. We're looking really at good versus evil. When people want to enslave you, and that's what's happening in some sectors, that is evil. Freedom comes from God. All right. We are we're going to talk to you here about the entire manifesto, go through them rapid fire on the 22 points. We already covered one of them uh, in singular fashion. We won't repeat that. And that's the fact that they want your kids. They want to draft. They want your grandkids. They want to draft. Palantir, I'm sure, has pushed Trump to do what they just did, which was make the draft or the selective service process automatic. They increased the age that you can enlist in. You know where this is headed. You think these actions are in isolation? I hope there's not so much cognitive dissonance out there that we can't see through that. But nonetheless, that's true. Okay, so let's take a look at who our sponsor is here. And this is something you're really going to want to look at because I'm going to talk to you about frequencies on an intervention basis. And you look at modern medical, frequencies are all the rage. Frequency manipulation and alternative healthcare, all the rage. It's absolutely fantastic what's going on right now. And as a consequence, ladies and gentlemen, we are, let me fix this so I can pull this up here. We are in a situation where we have some of these things available to us. So the good people at Body Align have pain patches. Fortunately, I don't need that. Ultimate Wellness Band, that's energy. Absolutely. Do not wear it 3 hours before bed. It will keep you up. No harm. It's completely natural. It's all natural frequencies. EMF protection devices on the back of your phone. It severely limits the amount of EF that comes out. I don't want to get glioblastoma like John McCain, Ted Kennedy. That's how they passed away. Hey, protect yourself. And then finally, you get the sleep patches. And if I had a problem with that, my wife says you could sleep in an elevator on your feet. That's probably true. But if I needed, I would use the sleep patches. Together, they have great deals. All you got to do is go to bodyalign, ALIGN, bodyalign.com/Dave Hodges. Well, shall we see if we can't locate this infamous manifesto, which I look at it as a document of enslavement? I think there's no question that's what's going on here. Those of you that can see this on social media and those of you that can't, they're listening audio like on our radio networks or our podcasts. I have pulled up a 22-point summary that Palantir posted on X from CEO Alex Karp and Nicholas Zeminski's 2025 book called The Technological Republic: Hard Power, Soft Belief, and the Future of the West. Ain't much of a future, way, well, at least how I see it. Let's okay. Number one, Silicon Valley owes a moral debt to the country that made its rise possible. Yeah, no kidding. So then why are you trying to enslave us? The engineering elite of Silicon Valley has an affirmative obligation to participate in the defense of the nation. Can I reword that? To participate in the profiteering of the defense of the nation, military industrial complex. We must rebel against the tyranny of the apps. Is the iPhone our greatest creative, if not crowning achievement as a civilization? The object has changed our lives, but it may also be limiting and constraining our sense of the possible. What the heck do you think AI is? Talk about talking out of both sides of your mouth. Are you kidding me? What they're basically saying is if it doesn't come from us, you can't use it. That's ultimately where this is headed. Free email is not enough. I'm telling you, this is boy, some of the things that he says here makes me think that he was enjoying some late night fun. The decadence of a culture civilization and indeed its ruling class will be forgiven only if that culture is capable of delivering economic growth and security for the public. Let me translate that. Security of the public means that you're kept in check, your constitutional liberties are gone, and you will act as little robots and you'll bend the knee to those in charge. Economic growth for those in charge. This is where this is headed. This is already what's going on. You think, well, Dave, you're kind of reading into his words. I'm reading into what's reality that he's written about. He's acting if he's projecting to the future and promising you nirvana, but their nirvana has arrived at your expense, and that's just unfolding. Okay, number four, the limits of soft power of soaring rhetoric alone have been exposed. Hello, what's the opposite of soft power? Hard power. What's hard power? Total control. What does that tell you about your liberties? But let's look at the narrative. The ability of free and democratic societies to prevail requires something more than moral appeal. So to hell with morality, we're going to tell you how it's going to be. Next sentence. It requires hard power, and hard power in this century built on software. That's technocratic enslavement. If you don't understand my use of the term there, we're talking about having a society that's totally surveilled. We're already getting that with Flock and other organizations. Palantir is a big part of that. They're a partner with Flock. We're getting it too with law enforcement. They bypass the warrant to spy on you. There's no Fourth Amendment anymore with police investigations when they're using technology. I could go on and on and on and on, but they're talking hard power. Hard power means dictatorship. See, when you talk about a constitutional republic where rights are guaranteed, okay, that's soft power. He's saying that has to go away. It's a euphemism for do away with the Constitution. Number five, the question is not whether AI weapons will be built, it's who will build them and for what purpose. Well, I know what purpose. Money and power. Money and power. AI weapons. Our adversaries will not pause to indulge in theatrical debates. Here we go, the Cold War fallacy. We know we doubled the estimate of Soviet Union nuclear weapons in the Cold War to justify the massive military industrial complex we built. That's been established. The salt toxin investigation showed all that. The Russians saying, this is really all we had. We know, but we needed to create a boogeyman. This is what they're doing with China and AI. Okay, we did the national service already. They want a draft. They want your kids. They're coming for your kids. If a U.S. Marine asks for a better rifle in number seven, we should build it. And the same goes for software. We should, as a country, be capable of continuing a debate about the appropriateness of military action. There will be no debate. This is a unilateral action. If we were voting on this war with Iran, we wouldn't be in this war with Iran. Who's he kidding? Oh my gosh. Okay, number eight, public servants need not be our priests. That's correct. It's the technocrats behind the public servants that are going to be running it. I mean, you think Trump's doing this? Trump has held capture. I don't know how this happened. He started out his presidency doing everything he said he was going to do, and then boom, something flipped the switch. This is the group that flipped the switch. This and their partnership with the Zionists, and this is what we're getting now. Okay, so when they say that, yeah, I just, like I said, sometimes I almost go speechless because I can't believe we're falling for this. We should show far more grace towards those who've subjected themselves to public life. Oh, that's right. Nancy Pelosi should make almost $1 billion in insider trading, but Dave Hodges should go to prison for doing the same thing. All right. People that get fired from their job, the health insurance stops. People get defeated in Congress, their health insurance continues along with their retirement. That's the way that we're going to show appreciation for those in public life. If they're on the Epstein list, let's just look the other way. Hey, no harm, no foul, right? Who cares about those kids? That's exactly what this statement is saying. The psychologicalization, new word, of modern politics is leading us away. Those who look to the political arena to nourish their soul and a sense of self, who rely too heavily on their internal life finding expression in people they never met, will be disappointed. Huh? What a bunch of gobbledygook. But I think what he's trying to say here, I think what Karp is trying to say here is don't ask any questions. Just trust us. We're in charge. Number 11, our society has grown too eager to hasten and is often gleeful at the demise of its enemy. The vanquishing of an opponent is a moment to pause, not rejoice. Tell that to the people of Iran. Oh, and before that, Tell that to the people of Afghanistan. And before that, tell that to the people of Iraq. How many died in Iraq? Was it 4 million? Really? So all of a sudden now we're going to be humanitarian. How are you going to be humanitarian, Alex, when you waste weapons and then you got to build more weapons, which means kill more people, and you got to keep the profit going, right? You get the idea. It's a never-ending cycle. The atomic age is ending. Yeah. I think you know I disagree with that with the series I just did on what a nuclear war would look like. One age of deterrence, the atomic age, is ending, and a new era based on AI is set to begin. I hope this doesn't mean what I feel it means, that they're perceiving such futuristic weapons that atomic weapons will pale in comparison. I can't even get my mind around that. Number 13, excuse me. No other country in the history of the world has advanced progressive values more than this one. The US is far from perfect, but it's easy to forget how much more opportunity exists in this country. Yeah, let me tell you about the opportunity that exists in this country right now. Junior hires in firms is almost at zero. It's going into the negative category in the next few months if we don't get out of this war. The ads for like Indeed and ZipRecruiter and stuff, they're over half of them are for senior level positions. Only a few of them now are for entry level. This is the long-term decimation of our job market. And this exactly falls in with AI replacement of jobs. And if you look at it, what do we know? Amazon has said by what, 2032, they want to get rid of 670,000 jobs. They just got rid of 30,000, right? Oracle, 33,000, right? Okay. You wake up, get a 6 a.m. email like Oracle did, and 37,000 people are out of work. That's right. And there's nowhere for them to go. You look at the interviews on YouTube when people are talking about their experiences. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Don't give me this everything is going to be okay routine. Okay, number 14, American power is made possible in extraordinarily long peace. We've had 3 wars now in the last 2 decades plus. End of comment. 15, post-war neutering of Germany and Japan must be undone. I think we're beyond that. Germany's the dominant power, and they're trying to self-destruct. They're going back to nuclear, by the way, because of their power issues. But they're trying to self-destruct Germany. However, they're still the dominant military and economic force in the EU. Japan, China fears Japan, and for good reason. Japan's formidable. We've helped that. And Douglas MacArthur, God bless him, when he ruled over Japan for 7 years, he industrialized them. He gave them what they went to war for, industrialization, and Japan became an economic powerhouse. What are we undoing, Alex? Read a history book. Number 16, we should applaud those who attempt to build where the market has failed to act. The culture almost snickers at Musk's interest in the grand narrative, as if billionaires ought to simply stay in their lane of enriching themselves. Any curiosity or genuine interest in the value of what he's created is essentially dismissed or perhaps lurks from beneath a thinly veiled scorn. This makes absolutely no sense. I think this is the artificial substances speaking here. Let me say this about Elon Musk. I think he's made a good faith effort. I mean, he's a visionary. You've got his internet service that can go just about anywhere. He's trying to engage in space exploration, which I think is admirable. I mean, NASA, well, okay, I'd rather see Musk. And then you've also, this is, I think, really good, is Musk has tried innovations in electric cars. And certainly, if oil's an issue and we're all running on electric cars, we'd be a little better off. And I'm not saying that's what we should be doing, but I don't see Elon Musk as the enemy. And by the way, he's not on this Council of Science and Technology that is implementing technocracy as we speak. All right, Silicon Valley on 17 must play a role in addressing violent crime. Here we go, pre-crime, baby. Tom Cruise, right? The Minority Report. Yeah, here we go. This is where they're going with this. the flock cameras trying to catch you doing something wrong, extracting money at every chance they get. It's China all over again, right? What do they do in China? If you have one foot that goes outside the crosswalk, they got your facial identification, boom, you get the fine in the mail. They put your name up on an electronic billboard and it goes all over China. And they just run the names of the offenders trying to shame them. That's the social credit, and that's what this is about. But let's read the whole thing because maybe I'm in error. I don't think I am. Um, Silicon Valley must play a role in addressing violent crime. Many politicians across the U.S. have essentially shrugged when it comes to violent crime, abandoning any serious efforts to address the problem or to take on risk with their constituencies or donors. Well, he's right. What we're doing now is we're putting the homeless in prison. We talked about HB 211 yesterday in Louisiana. It's already in effect in Utah, and it's going into 6 other states, and it's going to grow. So yeah, gee, we're making homelessness a crime, and some of those people might commit crimes like drug abuse. We should just lock them all up and throw away the key, right? And then we'll expand that to other people we don't like. Right? You say something we don't like, well, that's hate speech. To prison with you. This is it's hard to make sense out of nonsense, but there's enough autocracy here coming out of Palantir that I think it's worth going through. 18, the ruthless exposure of the private lives of public figures drives far too much talent away from the government service. Then don't be a frickin' pervert. Character counts. When you act in heinous ways that violate our laws and our morality and our social customs, we don't want you leading our country. We want to push those people away, unless you're one of those people that likes those behaviors. 19, the caution in public life that we unwittingly encourage is corrosive. Those who say nothing wrong often say nothing much at all. Well, that's their goal. Why else would you have a surveillance spy state? Why does your TV spy on you? Why does Alexa spy on you? You notice when you bring up discussion of some vacation site and all of a sudden you're flooded with the ads. That's no secret. It happens to every one of us. Number 20, the pervasive intolerance of religious belief in certain circles must be resisted. The elite's intolerance of religious belief is perhaps one of the most telling signs a political project constitutes a less open intellectual environment that many within it would claim. Well, let me tell you what the elite are doing in Canada. Certain aspects of the Bible, they're calling it hate speech, and they're in the process of making this illegal. C9. Heard from Canadians yesterday when I talked about that, and you say, you're absolutely right, Dave. It's horrendous. And they're not listening to us. Let me just give you an example of the elite in this country, okay? We need to fight in Israel's wars. Genesis 12:3, do what Israel tells you. It doesn't command us to do that. That's a bastardization of that passage. But even if that was true, a Christian's covenant is not with Genesis 12:3 Old Testament. It's with the resurrection of Jesus Christ, as I've said many times. And that's a covenant, but that's being ignored by people that are trying to falsely use the Bible to say we should be involved in this holy war of crusade. Oh, number 21. Some cultures have produced vital advances, others remain dysfunctional and regressive. This is scary. All cultures are now equal. Now, it's not where this goes, okay? So it's a statement where it discredits itself as it goes on. Criticism and value judgments are forbidden, yet this new document glosses over the fact that certain cultures, and indeed subcultures, have produced wonders. Others have proven middling and worse, regressive and harmful. So if we're looking at autocratic hard power, is this going to be used indiscriminately against people that we judge to be inferior? Well, this is the breeding ground of the logic behind genocide. This reminds me of what we saw in the 1930s in Germany. And I know all about this from a ground level perspective because my ancestors on my dad's side came out of that environment. I grew up hearing about this. And this right there, I'm going, oh boy, we've lived this before. All cultures are valuable. It's the perversions of the leaders that make the culture go and act in ways that are detrimental to the world and to the country from which these people live and are ruled by these despots. But they want to make the culture the villain. See, that's scary. You could talk about the Ayatollah, okay? When you start talking about all Iranians, that's scary, folks. Does this give you insight? 22. We must resist the shallow temptation of a vacant and hollow pluralism. We in America and more broadly the West have for the past half century resisted defining national cultures in the name of inclusivity, but inclusion to what? All right, I'll tell you, inclusion into what? Inclusion into what you tell us it should be. Your friends at the World Economic Forum announced some time ago that they were going to rewrite the Bible and give different meanings to it. They didn't think the meanings being driven from it were accurate. Is that what you're talking about? I think if people really understood this and stopped for a second and consider what are the implications that are being espoused here, I think that people would say, no, no. The problem is if they implement this technocratic smart grid system, they can shut your power off. They can take your bank account because everything's digitized. They can take everything. This is mark of the beast predecessor kind of stuff. If you don't believe me, just go to the book of Revelation, read what John wrote about this. This is where it puts my mind. And even if I'm wrong, okay, let's leave Revelation out of it for a second. That's way off in the future. The end days aren't here. We're not going to go into tribulation. Let's go from that premise. You're still looking at people that want absolute and total control over you, and they will decide what religions are valid, what cultures are valid, and ultimately that gives leaders the power to decide who lives or dies. Is that what you want? Is this what you voted for in 2024? I'm Dave Hodges. This is the Common Sense Show.